The iconic television series The Lone Ranger, 1949–1957, brought to life tales of justice, heroism, and frontier adventure, capturing the imagination of millions across America. Behind the silver screen, however, lay a darker narrative, one woven with tragedy, loss, and the painful realities of life in and beyond Hollywood. This account explores the tragic deaths of 34 actors who appeared on The Lone Ranger, revealing stories of untimely ends, personal demons, and forgotten legacies. From rising stars whose lives were cut short, to seasoned performers who faced heartbreaking declines, their stories serve as a somber reminder of the hidden toll of fame and the fleeting nature of life in the limelight. Clayton Moore, born Jack Carlton Moore on September 14, 1914, became an iconic television figure when he first portrayed the Lone Ranger in 1949 at the age of 35. His portrayal of the masked hero, defined by a strong sense of justice and an unshakable moral compass, captured the hearts of millions of viewers. For many, Moore was the Lone Ranger. However, behind the screen, Moore's life was marked by personal struggles that often mirrored the complexities of his on-screen character. In 1952, when Moore was temporarily replaced by the studio, he suffered a breakdown, accusing executives of sabotage and exhibiting erratic behavior that raised concerns among colleagues. Upon his return to the role, Moore became increasingly obsessed with the character, even refusing to remove the Lone Ranger mask after the show concluded. His obsession reached its peak in the 1970s, when he was sued by producers to prevent him from continuing to wear the iconic outfit, leading to a strange legal battle that captured public attention. Though he garnered public sympathy for his actions, his relationships with colleagues became strained. Moore's personal life was fraught with a failed marriage, rumors of emotional instability, and a pervasive sense of being trapped by the legendary role that defined his career. Clayton Moore passed away on December 28, 1999, from a heart attack at the age of 85, leaving behind a legacy intertwined with both professional success and personal tragedy. John Hart, born December 13, 1917, temporarily took on the role of the Lone Ranger during the 1952–1953 season at the age of 35, replacing Clayton Moore. Despite portraying the character with sincerity and dedication, Hart faced severe backlash from fans, who widely regarded him as an inferior version of Moore. He was booed at public events, received hate mail, and was dismissed as the stand-in, which significantly hindered his career prospects. Hart's personal life was similarly troubled, marked by 2 bitter divorces and accusations of infidelity and indifference. In his later years, Hart became reclusive, carrying the weight of a legacy that never fully embraced him. As dementia set in, he reportedly began to confuse real-life memories with those of his character, becoming obsessed with the idea that he was the true Lone Ranger. Though he never became embroiled in major public scandals, Hart's life remained a quiet tragedy. He passed away on September 20, 2009, at the age of 91 due to complications from dementia, a fitting end to a life overshadowed by an iconic role that the public never fully accepted. J. Silverheels, born Harold J. Smith on May 26, 1912, played the role of Tonto in The Lone Ranger, 1949, at the age of 37, cementing his place as a television legend. As Tonto, Silverheels portrayed the loyal and wise companion to the Lone Ranger, yet his personal life was in stark contrast to the stoic, noble character he portrayed. As a Mohawk actor, Silverheels faced systemic racial discrimination in Hollywood, where Native Americans were often relegated to negative or one-dimensional roles. Typecast in stereotypical parts, he struggled with alcoholism during the peak of his career, often concealing his addiction while filming. Tensions behind the scenes were palpable, as Silverheels frequently clashed with producers over the portrayal of Native Americans in the scripts. His personal life was similarly tumultuous, marked by multiple relationships and children from various affairs. In his later years, Silverheels sought redemption by founding the Indian Actors Workshop in Los Angeles, aimed at supporting Native American actors, although the organization faced criticism for favoring certain individuals. He passed away on March 5, 1980, at the age of 67 from complications of a stroke and pneumonia, leaving behind a legacy of both struggle and triumph in the face of systemic adversity. Lane Bradford, born John Mertland LeVar Jr. on August 29, 1922, portrayed the villain Duke Wade in The Lone Ranger at the age of 27, appearing in 15 episodes. His transformation into a cold-hearted, fierce antagonist left a lasting impression on the series, but his real-life personality was equally intense. Known for his impulsive temper, Bradford was once escorted off set after a heated argument with the director. Behind the scenes, his wild lifestyle became the subject of industry gossip, including a hushed-up paternity lawsuit and several affairs with co-stars while still married. His quiet divorce in the late 1960s underscored the instability of his personal life. Despite a prolific career in over 250 films and TV shows, Bradford never achieved the fame he deserved, largely due to his reputation as a difficult personality. His final years were spent in relative silence, with his health rapidly declining. Bradford passed away suddenly on June 6, 1973 at the age of 50, from a brain hemorrhage while boating in Hawaii, a tragic and dramatic end to a life defined by turmoil. House Peters Jr., born on January 12, 1916, played the role of Bat Anders in The Lone Ranger in 1950 at the age of 34. On screen, Peters portrayed a cold, dangerous outlaw, but off-screen, his life was shaped by a series of personal struggles. As the son of silent film star House Peters Sr., he spent much of his career living in the shadow of his father's fame, which created significant pressure. While the public viewed him as a model of propriety with no major scandals, those close to him understood the unresolved tensions he had with his father, who dismissed his television career as beneath him. Despite appearing in over 100 roles, Peters Jr. struggled with typecasting and backstage conflicts, which led to a gradual decline in his career. In his later years, he withdrew from the public eye, relying on sleeping pills and living in isolation. He passed away on October 1, 2008, at the age of 92 from pneumonia, marking a quiet and largely forgotten end to the career of a man who spent much of his life attempting to escape the shadow of his past. John Kasein, born on July 30, 1918, played the villainous Barney Compton in The Lone Ranger, 1949, at the age of 31. With his cold, sharp gaze and menacing demeanor, Kasein embodied the role of an outlaw both on screen and in his personal life. A former Marine and underground boxer, Kasein's real-life temper and violent tendencies mirrored the roles he portrayed. He earned a reputation as a troublemaker with numerous reports of on-set altercations, including an infamous incident in which he allegedly broke a co-star's nose during a botched scene. His connections to the underworld, stemming from his background in underground boxing, added to his notoriety, but also led to his eventual blacklisting from major studios. Despite his raw talent, his career faltered due to his uncontrollable temper and the fear he instilled in colleagues. On July 7, 1961, at the age of 42, Kasein died in a car accident under mysterious circumstances. His death remains shrouded in speculation, with many wondering if it was truly an accident or the result of lingering vendettas from his tumultuous past. Harry Lauder, born on June 19, 1914, portrayed Dave Tucker in The Lone Ranger, 1949, at the age of 35. With his clean-cut, confident persona, Lauder appeared to be the epitome of a reliable, heroic figure. However, his off-screen life was far more complicated. Known for his self-reliance, Lauder became embroiled in a bitter family inheritance dispute that distanced him from his loved ones for decades. Industry insiders also whispered about his obsessive competitiveness and alleged attempts to sabotage colleagues, including a notorious wardrobe incident in 1952 that threatened his public image. Lauder's brief stint as a model became fodder for scandal when nude photos of him surfaced within Hollywood's underground circles, a challenge to the clean-cut image he had built as a cowboy star. As he aged, Lauder struggled with chronic pain, leading to rumors of painkiller addiction. In his later years he turned to painting, but suffered from severe depression, even destroying some of his own works in the early 1980s. Lauder passed away on October 30, 1990, at the age of 76 from a heart attack, leaving behind a legacy marked by hidden struggles and a complex emotional journey. John Ducet, born on January 21, 1921, played Andrew Gage in The Lone Ranger, 1949, at the age of 28. With his gravelly voice and stern expression, Ducet quickly became a staple of villainous roles in Hollywood. Yet, behind his screen persona, his life was marred by addiction and personal turmoil. Ducet struggled with a heavy gambling addiction, which drained much of his earnings and forced him to accept low-paying roles in B-movies. His erratic behavior, including drunken outbursts on set, led to his dismissal from a prominent role in the early 1960s. In addition to his personal demons, Ducet's name was linked to extramarital affairs and an unacknowledged child, further complicating his already troubled reputation. Despite these issues, he remained a respected character actor until his death. Ducet passed away from cancer on August 16, 1994, at the age of 73, leaving behind a legacy of both accomplishment and personal hardship. Harvey, born on January 10, 1901, played Clem in The Lone Ranger, 1949, at the age of 48. While he portrayed a warm and approachable character on screen, Harvey's personal life was marked by silent struggles and a series of tragic setbacks. Transitioning from a child actor to adult roles proved difficult, and he faced rejection from major studios, which led to deep bouts of depression. Industry rumors suggested that Harvey's early career was marred by a secretive romantic relationship with a powerful male producer, an affair that led to his blacklisting in some circles. His two marriages both ended disastrously, one due to allegations of domestic violence and the other because of infidelity. His estranged relationship with his only son, who severed ties with him in the 1970s, added to his sense of isolation. In his later years, Harvey became reclusive, struggling with paranoia and emotional instability. He passed away on November 27, 1985 at the age of 84, with the cause of death remaining undisclosed. His death, largely overlooked by the industry he once thrived in, marked the end of a life defined by personal and professional challenges, leaving many questions unanswered. William Chalie, born on April 6, 1904, portrayed the intense antagonist Bad Eye Dixon in The Lone Ranger in 1950 at the age of 46. Dixon was a formidable and dark character, contributing significantly to the tension that defined the series. Chalie's career spanned both stage and film, yet his personal life remained shrouded in mystery, marked by undisclosed scandals. While he publicly focused on founding the Ankrum Gallery and cultivating his artistic career, Chalie struggled privately with mounting gambling debts and strained family relationships, none of which were made public. On set, he became known for his volatile moods and unpredictable outbursts, earning a reputation for being difficult to work with. His tumultuous personal life, including rumors of emotional abuse, further compounded his challenges. In his later years, Chalie battled Alzheimer's disease and passed away quietly on March 11, 1989, at the age of 84. He left behind a complex artistic legacy, marked by both mystery and turmoil. Richard Crane, born on June 6, 1918, portrayed Billy, the loyal and steadfast companion, in The Lone Ranger in 1950 at the age of 32. Billy served as the moral anchor in the series, representing the optimistic spirit of American youth amidst a backdrop of law and order. In contrast, Crane's personal life was marked by personal struggles and misfortune. Despite being a familiar face on 1950s television, he found himself typecast in supporting roles, which limited his career opportunities. His marriage ended in a highly publicized and bitter divorce, accompanied by allegations of infidelity and alcohol abuse. Colleagues reported frequent on-set conflicts and an erratic temper, which led to him being blacklisted by certain studios. Financially, his struggles with alcoholism and gambling compounded his difficulties. After years of battling personal demons, Crane passed away from a heart attack on March 9, 1969, at the age of 50, leaving behind a career that ended prematurely and a life marked by tragedy. Robert Kell, born on April 23, 1915, played the role of Ace, a charming but dangerous antagonist, in The Lone Ranger in 1949 at the age of 34. Kellett's career trajectory followed a familiar Hollywood arc. After enjoying a brief period as a leading man in several B-movies, his career suffered a sharp decline following a highly publicized incident involving excessive drinking on set, leading to his dismissal from prominent films. His personal life mirrored his professional decline, marked by multiple failed marriages and a high-profile affair with a married co-star, which caused major scandals and contributed to his blacklisting by major studios. Struggling with alcoholism and gambling, Kell was often described as unpredictable and unreliable, which strained his relationships with colleagues. In his later years, he lived a quiet life, working as a writer before passing away from pneumonia on January 13, 1981, at the age of 65. His death marked the end of a career filled with regrets and missed opportunities. Rand Brooks, born on September 21, 1918, portrayed Al Summers in The Lone Ranger in 1949 at the age of 31. Summers was characterized by quiet strength and noble integrity, providing stability amidst the chaos of the storyline. Despite a series of memorable roles, Brooks' personal life was plagued by challenges. His marriage to Lois Laurel, the daughter of comedian Stan Laurel, was marred by infidelity and public disputes, leading to a media scandal. Brooks also struggled with a gambling addiction, which drained his finances and strained his relationships with colleagues and friends. After reinventing himself as a businessman, those closest to him noted a deep bitterness and regret over his failed marriage and career compromises. Brooks passed away on September 1, 2003 at the age of 84 from cancer, leaving behind a legacy that intertwined artistic achievement with personal chaos. Emmett Lynn, born on February 14, 1897, played Amos Carter in The Lone Ranger in 1949 at the age of 52. Amos was a humorous and endearing character, providing moments of levity amidst the film's more intense drama. Lynn's extensive career in vaudeville and his generosity within the community were overshadowed by deep personal struggles, including chronic depression, particularly after the death of his estranged wife. Alcoholism compounded his troubles, and colleagues noted his charming yet unstable nature, often describing his performances as erratic and disappointing to directors and co-stars. Outside of his career, Lynn faced financial difficulties and personal isolation. He passed away on October 20, 1958 at the age of 61 from heart disease, leaving behind a legacy that was both warm and humorous, yet deeply tinged with sadness. Mike Reagan, born on February 18, 1918, portrayed Al in The Lone Ranger in 1950 at the age of 32. Al epitomized the tough, pragmatic, and rough character that Reagan frequently portrayed in Western roles. Despite his formidable on-screen persona, Reagan's personal life was overshadowed by unfulfilled dreams and inner turmoil. Originally aspiring to pursue a career in music, he became disillusioned and depressed when this ambition failed to materialize. Although he remained publicly reserved, those close to him revealed that Reagan struggled with alcoholism and anger issues, leading to violent outbursts during filming. His personal relationships were equally unstable, including a brief and tumultuous marriage marked by allegations of emotional abuse and neglect. Despite maintaining a professional demeanor on set, Reagan was a man burdened by isolation and disappointment. He passed away peacefully on August 25, 1995 at the age of 77, due to natural causes, with much of his complex personal life remaining out of the public eye. Phil Ted, born on September 29, 1893, portrayed Cherokee Webster in The Lone Ranger in 1950 at the age of 57. Cherokee was a quirky, charming character who provided much-needed comic relief in the harsh setting of the Wild West. However, Ted's long Hollywood career was far from as stable or lighthearted as his on-screen persona suggested. Behind closed doors, he was known for his volatile temper and heavy drinking, which frequently led to conflicts with directors and co-stars, at times resulting in sudden dismissals. Ted's career was further tarnished by a scandal when a young co-star accused him of inappropriate behavior during filming. Though the matter was swiftly hushed up and barely reported by the press, the incident left a stain on his reputation. Despite his contributions to the film industry, Ted's legacy became overshadowed by personal controversies and allegations. He passed away in Los Angeles on June 9, 1974, at the age of 80, under circumstances that remain largely unknown. Nan Lesley, born on June 4, 1926, played Alicia Scoville in The Lone Ranger in 1949 at the age of 23. Alicia was a strong, intelligent frontier woman who often overcame adversity with grace and determination, playing a crucial role in the emotional arcs of the series. However, Leslie's personal life was marked by significant turmoil, much of which was kept out of the public eye. She endured 2 bitter marriages, both plagued by infidelity and emotional abuse, leading to secretive divorces that Hollywood sought to keep under wraps. Leslie's withdrawal from acting in 1968 was prompted by disputes with producers over her desire for more substantial roles, earning her a reputation as difficult to work with and further complicating her career. In her later years, Lesley became increasingly isolated, estranged from her daughter, who vanished from the public eye amid rumors of addiction. Her final years were consumed by deep depression and a sense of lost opportunity. Lesley passed away from pneumonia on July 30, 2000, at the age of 74, leaving behind a legacy marked by both success and personal anguish. Glenn Strange, born on August 16, 1899, portrayed Butch Cavendish in The Lone Ranger in 1949 at the age of 50. Butch Cavendish embodied the classic Western villain, ruthless, frightening, and a perfect foil to the film's hero. However, Strange's real life stood in stark contrast to the cold-hearted cowboy image he portrayed on screen. He was plagued by personal tragedies, including the early death of loved ones, and struggled with chronic alcoholism for many years. His volatile temper, often fueled by drinking, led to tensions with colleagues and added a dark layer to his personal life. Although he was a well-known figure in westerns and horror films, Those close to Strange understood that he was a man burdened by inner demons, often seeking solace on his farm and through music. He passed away from lung cancer on September 20, 1973, at the age of 74, leaving behind a legacy marked by both the fearsome villain he portrayed on screen and the vulnerable soul he was off-screen. Terry Frost, born on October 26, 1906, played the role of the sheriff in The Lone Ranger in 1953 at the age of 47, embodying the archetype of a strict but fair lawman. On screen, he exuded authority and integrity. However, Frost's personal life was fraught with struggles and upheavals. He experienced several failed engagements and a controversial divorce, marred by allegations of domestic abuse, which starkly contrasted with the heroic image he portrayed in films. Frost also carried the burden of undiagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder from his wartime experiences, which often led to mood swings and frequent conflicts with colleagues. His drinking exacerbated the tensions, causing production delays and strained relationships with directors and co-stars. Despite his dedication to his craft, Frost's personal challenges cast a long shadow over his career and private life. He passed away from a heart attack on March 1, 1993 at the age of 86, closing a life full of highs and lows, yet still remembered for his contributions to Western cinema. Hugh Proser, born on March 2, 1907, portrayed the cunning and morally complex Amos Carter in The Lone Ranger, 1950, at the age of 43. Known for his sharp manipulation of events, Carter added a layer of depth to the show's Western conflicts. However, Proser's personal life starkly contrasted with the calculated, composed characters he often portrayed on screen. Struggling with a destructive gambling addiction and alcoholism, Proser's life was marred by public controversies and personal breakdowns. His marriage ended in a bitter divorce, with accusations of domestic violence and a protracted custody battle, further tarnishing his reputation. His erratic behavior and unprofessionalism led to his gradual blacklisting in Hollywood, limiting his acting opportunities. Proser's life tragically ended in a car accident near Gallup, New Mexico, on November 8, 1952 at the age of 45, leaving a legacy of unfulfilled potential and personal demons. Walter Sandy, born on July 9, 1906, played the authoritative Sheriff Taylor in The Lone Ranger, 1949, at the age of 43, portraying a figure of trustworthiness and lawfulness. Off-screen, however, Sandy's life was characterized by contradictions and turmoil. A notorious gambler, Sandy often found himself in financial trouble, which placed a strain on his personal life and marriage. His relationships were further complicated by a secret, long-term affair with a co-star, contributing to tension on set. While his public persona was that of a straightforward actor, those within the industry knew him as a difficult and temperamental man, often maneuvering behind the scenes to secure favorable roles. Sandy passed away in Chicago on November 22, 1971, at the age of 65, under circumstances that remain largely undisclosed. His legacy is one of apparent success overshadowed by personal chaos and secrets that were known only to a select few. Gene Roth, born on January 8, 1903, portrayed the intimidating Big Jim Folsom in The Lone Ranger, 1949, at the age of 46, presenting a formidable villain whose size and demeanor matched his fierce on-screen presence. However, Roth's personal life was anything but straightforward. Known for his volatile temper, Roth often clashed with colleagues, leading to conflicts on set. His reputation for erratic behavior and a reported threat toward a director led to a gradual decline in his career. Off-screen, Roth's life was plagued by a public divorce, allegations of abuse, and estrangement from his family. His son later criticized him for alcoholism and abuse, further tarnishing his public image. Roth's life ended tragically when he was struck by a hit-and-run driver on July 19, 1976, at the age of 73. His death, marked by solitude and poverty, was a tragic culmination of the internal and external struggles that defined his life. James Griffith, born on February 13, 1916, brought the complex antagonist Flint Taylor to life in The Lone Ranger, 1950, at the age of 34. Griffith's nuanced portrayal added layers of vulnerability to his character, which set him apart from traditional Western villains. Yet his personal life was filled with turmoil and challenges. Despite his talent, Griffith's career was interrupted by being blacklisted during the McCarthy era, which caused him to miss several important roles. His marriages were troubled, with the second wife accusing him of abuse and emotional manipulation. Struggling with chronic alcoholism, Griffith was able to maintain a professional demeanor in public but remained privately conflicted. He passed away from cancer on September 17, 1993, at the age of 77. Despite his undeniable acting talent, Griffith's personal struggles left a complicated and often contradictory legacy. Myron Healey, born on June 8, 1923, portrayed the villainous Ben Murray in The Lone Ranger, 1950, at the age of 27, bringing a sharp, commanding presence to the role. Healey's on-screen persona of cold calculation, paired with his crisp wit, made him a memorable figure in westerns. However, off-screen his life was filled with personal struggles and scandal. A decorated World War II bomber pilot, Healey's post-war career was marred by multiple broken marriages, with allegations of infidelity and substance abuse. Known for his sharp tongue and bullying behavior toward younger actors, Healey was also secretly battling a gambling addiction, which placed him in financial jeopardy. Later in life, a fall left him physically impaired, and he lived in isolation far from the Hollywood spotlight. Healey passed away on December 21, 2005 at the age of 82, leaving behind a complex legacy of cinematic contributions overshadowed by personal darkness and unresolved struggles. Denver Pyle, born on May 11, 1920, made a notable appearance as Arlie McQueen in The Lone Ranger in 1951 at the age of 31. McQueen was a character embodying both roughness and charm, a perfect reflection of Pyle's remarkable versatility as an actor. Known for his ability to balance strength and allure in his Western roles, Pyle's performances left a lasting impression on audiences. However, the charismatic figure he portrayed on screen contrasted sharply with the tumultuous nature of his personal life. Despite his well-known philanthropic efforts, Pyle struggled with significant challenges, including alcohol and gambling addictions that often had a detrimental impact on his career and family life. In Hollywood, rumors circulated about his vengeful behavior and supposed sabotage of colleagues' careers. His personal relationships were also marked by turbulence, including a public scandal in the 1960s when one of his wives accused him of infidelity. While Pyle maintained a reputation for public generosity, those closest to him described him as having an unpredictable temper, which made collaboration difficult. Pyle passed away on December 25, 1997, at the age of 77 due to lung cancer. His death marked the end of a legacy that, while filled with moments of kindness, was also defined by deep contradictions that mirrored the chaotic nature of his life and career. John Pickard, born on June 25, 1913, brought a quiet yet authoritative presence to his role as Deputy Henry Slack in The Lone Ranger in 1952, when he was 39 years old. His portrayal of a calm, loyal figure who maintained order amid the chaos of the Western frontier showcased Pickard's ability to deliver weighty performances without relying on loudness or aggression. Off-screen, however, Pickard's life was far more turbulent. While colleagues viewed him as a professional and dedicated actor, Pickard faced battles with depression and alcoholism that worsened after a painful divorce. His family life was fraught with tension, and his eldest son publicly condemned him for neglect and verbal abuse during childhood. Pickard's impulsive nature nearly cost him his career after a confrontation with a co-star on set. Though Pickard seemed to find peace in his later years on a farm, tragedy struck when he was attacked by a bull and killed on August 4, 1993 at the age of 80. His sudden and unexpected death shocked the industry, and the loss of a man once seen as the epitome of steady strength in the Western genre left a profound impact. What are your thoughts on the passing of these Lone Ranger actors? How do you view their contributions to the legacy of the show? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated with our latest videos. Thank you for your continued support.